Um, so, ah, so here's his Robin, right? And then like we lose Robin away. He like changes his costume, becomes the character Nightwing. This is cool. But then we get ourselves another Robin, and then he ends up dying, and he actually dies, which kudos to that. But then like we get another guy, a third guy who also calls himself Robin and fulfills like the same purpose basically. And I'm like, I can understand it to a point, but it's like, haven't we trod this ground before? There go Batman and Robin to stop the Joker from conquering the city. I've seen this. I've seen this. So, after going on for a long time about all the things I don't like about my favorite superhero, let's go to my pitch. Gotham Times. The simple idea of it is, it's Gotham in real time. So we start it, let's say, now. If my pitch was immediately accepted. Let's say, 2007, or October 16th, 2007, if you want to be exact about it. 2007, Bruce Wayne is, let's say 28 years old. He's living off in the wild, whatever he's doing. He's like starting to get around to finishing his training, right? And in a couple years, he'll be Batman. And then it actually takes 2 years, real time, for that to happen, right? And so, like, we actually see every aspect of this journey, or possibly even more. I can understand, like, maybe coming up with a year's worth of stories could take 2 years. We might start lagging behind. And that actually would be useful if you want to pair things up with historical events, So maybe there's a bit of a lag. But basically, it takes place, like, in time. Everything has a year and a date. There's never any years and dates in Batman. Because otherwise it'd be like, if we tried to crunch everything in, it'd be like, dang, Batman's been doing this for like 70 years. He must be like 100 years old now, No one wants to mention that. So we have a thing, and this would be a separate deal from the rest of the Batman comics. Those could all continue the way they're going. This would be officially an Elseworlds project. Elseworlds is DC's thing when it's a story that's non-canon, right? You can do interesting things with Elseworlds. So we have, once again, Batman actually taking time on doing stuff. If he spends a couple years training, we trace him pretty much like month by month on the aspects of the training, the things he learns and, improves and questions he goes for, and then he goes to Gotham. Gotham actually passes in real time. And there's one of the metaphors, or one of the motifs I want to go with, is the local newspaper, Gotham Times, which, as far as I know, that doesn't exist until now, so we're making this up, right? And that'd be a great way of reviewing, like, what's really important. Reviewing, like, the passage of the city. Just, like, random articles in the newspaper, either printed on the comic, or people could refer to them. Just to see them around, reading this either in paper or as time goes by on the internet. There's nothing. I want to put Batman into our real time. I keep saying time and time, but the progress of technology, for instance, right? As we invent new things, Batman acquires new gadgets in exact pace with that. So we always have some research on what, like, say, the Department of Defense is currently thinking about, and that's pretty much what we give to Batman, right? He's got like the prototype models wherever he swings it, with his Wayne Enterprises and all that, and we put him in the context of all the changing trends, the changing fashions, the changing political scenes. So, like, if America, knock on wood, goes through a depression, Gotham City goes through a depression at the exact same time, because everything has a time and a date attached to it. And if America goes to war, Gotham goes to war. We set up draft offices. And, when America has a presidential election, Gotham's a part of that election. And people are actually debating the real-life candidates, right? And then, of course, you need room for fiction. And that's where Gotham comes in. Gotham will have elections for its mayors, for its aldermen, if it has that, for various things that way, and you see how the city changes. And I love modeling it on real life because that'll make all the changes very realistic. And if you do this for 10, 20, 50 years, who knows, it'll become like a diary of how America changed, or how big cities in America have changed. We see, in early issues, people, I don't know, People immediately have iPods, and then in later issues, 10 years from now, people have like full wearable computers that's just like stitched into your clothing, and it's, doing whatever it is we invent, and whatever big issues come up, So people in Gotham Times, not literally everybody, but once in a while, someone will mention the abortion debate. Someone will mention, the Iraq War. Someone will, give it a sense of reality and give things their proper permanence. Now, in the real world, sometimes a person is presumed dead. It doesn't actually die. That's not going to happen. And sometimes a prisoner is sent to jail and he manages to escape and cause havoc again. Yeah, that can happen. But a lot of the time, most of the time, I'd say, particularly the death aspect, once you're declared dead, it's probably because you're actually dead. And a lot of people who go to jail, they may get out, whether by escape or just serving their time, but that takes time. So if Batman, grabs the Riddler, and he gets sent to 7 years in jail for, I don't know, robbery or something, then he actually is going to spend 7 years real time in there, And stuff will happen in the meantime. People will age. Batman will age. He'll and on the one hand, he's learning new tricks. On the other hand, he'll slowly start slowing down, and eventually you have maybe the Nightwing or Robin or whatever, kind of stepping up. Issues with that. I mean, you don't need to deal with that immediately, of course. You can easily go, 10 years. But then you have to start thinking about it. It's interesting to make yourself start thinking about it. And then proper permanence. If let's say the Penguin kills Mr. Freeze on September 3rd, 2012, then the Penguin kills Mr. Freeze on September 3rd, 2012. And he dies. And he stays dead. People stay dead. And then, the world changes that way. People could, remark on how this has, changed the dynamics, the criminal dynamics. Gangs, as they rise and fall. It's nothing. Groups of people. That's always just these supervillains. I mean, I can understand, it's interesting in its own way. But I like to see the mob once in a while. I like to see gangs. And the problem with gangs, of course, being that you take down a gang leader, the next gang leader could easily step up. Which is nothing that never happens in Batman. It's never like we get rid of the Joker, throw him in jail, and then the Joker's number 2 takes over the organization. Who is Joker's number 2? I guess, Harley Quinn, but... Okay, you know what I mean, though? You take down, the flamboyant person at the top, and, the whole thing always collapses. Well, let's give it some reality. Let's give it some depth. Show things truly changing. I think it's really, really cool. I think, again, you don't want to snap all the other Batman comics, but I think this would make stuff feel real. Proper permanence. Get rid of superlatives. If something threatens all of Gotham, for one thing, that'd be a rare event, that something that big would happen, and for another thing, it would actually have a real impact. I mean, you remember 9/11, right? Which didn't even threaten all of New York City, but killed 3,000 people, makes it a pretty major event, and that influenced everything, or even to the present day, but particularly in the year or so to follow, people were, always scared of the next terrorist attack, and people were always debating what we should do about the terrorists, and some people, I'm sure, suffered a depression. I have to imagine the depression rates skyrocket after 9/11, as far as New Yorkers are concerned. All these various things. Give it some weight, some depth. Make things really interesting, so we don't just keep coming back to the same thing. But of course, now I'm readverting myself, and point of irony, coming back to the same thing. So, Gotham Times, DC, if you could please get on that, that'd be great. Thanks for watching, everyone. See you later.